What is up, guys?
Good evening.
I am JP,
And I'm Ryan.
and we are
CineNerds.
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 We got a fun one for you today.
We are going to do what our top 5 favorite films of 2024 to close out this year, close out this season of CineNerds.
This season.
Yeah, we're coming into a new year. We're going to go into season 2.
I'm loving that.
Yeah,
We're that makes us official.
official.
So yeah, we're just the way JP was just talking. I think he's got quite a bit more than I do, but did a top 5 for the year. But then I had some honorable mentions. But he's got some other ideas here too. So we're gonna have a little fun with this.
Yeah. So we put together our top 5, and we'll start at our number 5, and we'll work our way to number 1 like normal. I'm going to be up front, and I was telling Ryan a minute ago. I decided as I was making my list, I took, for the most part, a lot of the summer blockbusters out of my list because there's other films I felt I wanted to talk about. Now, was there other films that were probably better than some of these? Probably. With the summer blockbusters. I mean, I could sit here and talk about Deadpool. I could sit here and talk about Ghostbusters or Alien, Romulus. These other films that came out.
Ghostbusters shouldn't make my top 5.
No, it wasn't going to. But I didn't want to. I didn't want to talk about films that a lot of you have seen. I wanted to give you my favorite films of the year, and some of them are bigger films that you may have seen, but a couple of them, maybe you haven't.
Or they're bigger films that you've been putting off, and now you might have a reason. So that's where I'm thinking of this.
Yeah. So yeah, there we go.
All right. Are we?
Who's
going first?
We're going rock, paper, scissors
Yep.
again?
What? Here, scissors, shoot. Fuck. Lost in the first one?
Hey, we didn't do 4 or 5 in a row this time.
Does that mean you want me starting, or are you going to start with that?
You know what? You start.
Okay. Number 5 for me. Again, favorites of the year. My list is a little bit larger, but I do have some honorable mentions afterwards for a couple of smaller ones. But it was Furiosa. I definitely enjoyed this heavily. I'm a huge fan of the Mad Max movies, and I like this addition to the franchise wholeheartedly. Great we keep talking about these in movies, but great action sequences, great vehicle chase scenes, vehicle combat. What you expect in a Mad Max movie, everything is there, and it's got story too that brings us into the Tom Hardy era of Mad Max that brings it all to full circle, and I enjoyed it heavily.
So my original list, I had Furiosa on it, but again, this was one of the blockbusters that I took out. This actually was my number 1 on my list.
You told me you love this movie a lot,
and I've said it in multiple episodes at this point since the movie came out that this probably is my favorite movie of the year, and because I love the Mad Max universe. I love the practical effects, even though he did more CGI in this one than he normally does. But I love the chase sequences. I love the world of Mad Max. Like, I love the Mad Max, all the Mad Max films. So I was super excited about Furiosa, and so yeah, it was actually on my original list. It was my number 1. I did take it off of my list for my top 5, but yeah, completely agree. It should be in a top 5 list for a lot of people, and there's a lot of people that skipped Furiosa. Why? I'll never know, because the movie is so fucking good.
The brilliance of Frank Miller is that he essentially wants Mad Max to be a figurehead. He doesn't want it to be a singular person. And that was kind of why we always, basically, when we're seeing these movies, we're being told a story about a legend, if you will, or a myth. And so he doesn't want to put a face on him per se, but in each of these stories, that's why You got Tom Hardy, you've got Mad Max. It's still the same person, the way he explains it, the way that it comes across from Miller. And then we get introduced, so you don't have to. What I'm saying is, you don't have to see the other 3 movies with Mel Gibson to appreciate the new Mad Max era with Tom Hardy, because Tom Hardy was excellent, and we get Furiosa with Charlize Theron in that movie, and Fury Road was brilliant. So the spin-off, the way it comes in, I don't know, it's just amazing, all of it.
Yeah, no, it was great. And Anna Taylor
Joy,
yeah, she was great.
Yeah.
Now, she was no Charlize Theron. I will say this: Charlize Theron and Fury Road. Oh my God, she was such a fucking badass. But she replacing her as a young Furiosa, God, she was great.
Mm-hmm.
She was great. So yeah.
I did like normally when you see background story on characters that are already established, it can go really, really wrong. And Miller did a great job with this. I thought it was done well. I appreciated the whole build up and the way it panned out.
Well, it's hard to do a film with a character you know where she's going to end up.
Yeah.
So, my number 5. This is a movie I've been talking about, and in a lot of ways, I feel like this movie should be further up on my list. I actually kind of like this movie better than some of the couple of the movies that I actually have above it on this list. But I put it at number 5 for lack of funding and budget, because that can hurt a film too, which is the film Beazle. Did you get to watch this yet?
I didn't get to watch this yet. I haven't watched this yet.
So yeah, Beazle is an indie horror film about a witch that is living in a basement at this home, and it kind of goes through a few different generations of people who live in this home. Like, it starts in I think it's the 60s, and then it jumps to the 80s, and then it jumps to the 2000s with different people that are having to feed this witch. And it becomes a possession film on top of a witch film. And I wrote a review on this after I watched it, because I loved it so much. And it has the whole film has kind of a Paranormal Activity meets the original Evil Dead film, kind of combined with elements of, some other, like, and I think I even compared it to, even though it's not even really a comparison, but I think I even threw in, like, The Witch, the movie The Witch. But I didn't like that just because of some of the character designs and things like that. But really, you could actually compare The Witch to, what's her name? The mother in the basement in Evil Dead. Names that,
I'll swallow your soul.
Yeah, her name's escaping me right now. But you could even compare some of the design to that design. Like, it's such a good movie, and if you like indie horror, I don't know what the budget. I actually looked for the budget for this film. I couldn't find it, and I couldn't imagine the budget for this film was probably in the hundreds of thousands. So it was a very, very small budget. So, and what they did with the budget, you could tell they made it work.
Cool. I'm definitely going to have to watch it. Definitely all about those movies. All right. Number 4 for me was Deadpool and Wolverine. I know this one's like kind of the one from a lot of people, but it's on the list. I had to give it credit where it was deserved, because I enjoyed the movie. It was fun. It was fan fun too. It was a lot of this was for it was definitely fan service all the way through this movie. I hope to see a little more come out of this. If they were able to move forward with this, it'd be great in some other way. But yeah, no, I don't know. I just enjoyed it. A lot of fun, a lot of solid moments. I had those moments when I always have a great moment when I'm listening to a new song or I watch a movie first time and the arm hair stands up because you get the chills because it feels so right. And this movie did that. So I'm here for it.
and this is another one I removed from my list.
Fair.
Summer blockbuster. Deadpool Wolverine. My original list, this was my number 5.
Okay.
And really, I put it as originally as my number 5 on my original list because it's probably the biggest movie of the year.
I would say easily,
I would
yeah.
imagine it's probably the biggest movie of the year. And for a lot of people, this is probably their favorite movie of the year. It was not mine, but that does not mean I didn't love it. I said, even when we talked about it, when we reviewed it, I felt the story was lacking in this film, but it was a lot of fan service.
Yeah.
And the film was great. Ryan Reynolds was great. Hugh Jackman's great. The cast was great outside of the horrible Cajun accent and bumbling idiot that Channing Tatum played as Gambit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Channing Tatum's better than what he did. I think he could play that a lot better than what he did. He's better than that.
Let's not find out.
But yeah, we'll tackle that bridge when we get there if it ever happens. But yeah, it Deadpool. What more can you say about it? I mean, it was a great movie.
And listen here, Mr. Tatum, if you ever see this, and you want to call us out in this or tell us why you should be Gambit, we'd love to hear it. So just let us know. We're here for you. All right. So what's your 4?
My number 4, and I don't know if you've watched this one either. Maxine.
The third one. No, I have not seen that yet.
Maxine made my number 4, and
wow,
I really liked this movie. But I loved X. I loved Pearl. Maxine is if you liked X and Pearl, then you're gonna fucking love Maxine. Maxine. I actually think Maxine is the best of the 3, and it's straight up 80s. Has all the 80s music, the vibe, the feel. It even takes place during the Night Stalker era.
Richard Ramirez.
Yeah, in Hollywood. And there's a lot of gruesome scenes in this film. But to me, this film is actually less horror this time. It's has more of a bloody action film.
Okay.
More of a bloody action thriller. I mean, it's still horror, but it's not what X was. It's a different kind of movie, but God, Maxine is good. It's damn good, and I know a lot of people that I'm friends with talked about this film, and they really enjoyed it, but I didn't see a lot of people really talking about it. A lot of different people. This is one I think a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people out there that probably still hasn't watched X and those films.
I feel like this trilogy is destined to become cult classic, but it's not going to get the respect it should have. That's all.
Yeah. It's destined to be a cult classic for sure.
All right.
Number 3.
So we just reviewed this one, but I'm bringing it's coming in strong because I have a lot of love for this. Terrifier 3. And I put this one in there because I'm an art fanatic. I love Art the Clown. I like the Terrifier franchise. I like that we have new blood in the horror world again, and it's doing all the right things. It's checking off all the right boxes because it's being done by a director who cares so much about his character that he won't sell it to anyone. And I don't mean like, fuck you, it's mine. I mean, he wants to make sure it's protected. He doesn't want to see it go to crap. He wants to make sure his film still stays in the same authenticity it's being filmed in. You see in his movies, there's an independent style, there's an independent approach, but it all gets delivered in this major way that you just can't. I mean, it's just such giant personalities within these things. So I don't know. I just love Terrifier 3 start to finish. Can't wait for part 4. I want to see this franchise grow. I also do feel that at some point, though, I don't want to see 10 of these, though. I wouldn't mind if maybe we had sub shoot-offs of the other demons. I don't know, but I digress.
So I am going to chime in on Terrifier 3. My original list, Terrifier 3 showed up at number 2.
Really?
On my current list, it showed up as my number 1.
Oh, wow.
And I put it as my number 1. Now, I think there's better movies than Terrifier 3. But man, just like you said, independently done. He turned down major Hollywood money, and independently did this film, kept it true, to his indie style, and he made a better film than Terrifier and Terrifier 2. He made a better film, and he cemented art as a horror icon, and that is why I chose it as my number 1.
I love it. I'm here for it.
So, yeah.
You'll be shocked then when we get to my number 2.
I'm going to shock you with my number 2. I'm surprised my number 2 is my number 2. So
okay, all right.
So yeah,
all right. So what's your number 3?
My number 3, Late Night with the Devil.
Number 2. That's my number 2.
So Late Night with the Devil, if you've seen our episode on it, it is a possession film, and a lot of times I'm not a big fan of. Well, it's a slippery slope with me with possession films, because I obviously love Evil Dead. I love The Exorcist, but I hate a lot of these these other possession films, like you got through the early 2000s and even into the 2010s. It seemed like everybody was doing a possession film, and I love
Stigmata.
I got kind of just overwhelmed with them, to the point that I was like, I hate possession films. Even though, like, one of my favorite horror franchises with Evil Dead, that's essentially a possession film. But at this point, for a new film to come out that is a possession film, to actually draw me in, it has to be something special. Late Night with the Devil is something special. It's different. It's a creative way of doing a possession film and keeping you interested. Like, that film is, I don't know. I can't think of a more creative horror film in years for what this film is.
So I'll talk about it, but piggyback it as my number 2, just so we can move that along. But so I agree wholeheartedly with this one. So Late Night Devil is my number 2 spot. Jack, the main character, the actor who plays him, is phenomenal actor. Long overdue for him to have a main role like this. You have a different and unique approach, I felt, at Possession. You had the magician, you had the guy who was the skeptic, who was trying to prove everyone wrong. You had an actual late show that was putting this on live TV in the movie, obviously, but it was so well done, and the way they delivered it, and the way you had questions, and the way you saw things, and at the end of the movie, when Jack's lost his mind essentially, and I don't know, I went into this movie with very low expectations and came out very happy. So I could not speak more highly of this. Easily deserves number 2 on my list, and it was number 3 on JP's list as well. So good shit.
So since I already selected your number 2 and you talked about it, I guess I'm going to my number 2. And I was, like I said a minute ago, I was surprised at this film coming so high up on my list. I would have never guessed this film would have been this high on the list, because personally, this is the 3rd one in the series.
The anticipation.
I was not the first one was good, but I wasn't a massive fan. I didn't even care for the second one. A Quiet Place Day 1.
What? What?
Did you watch this one?
I did. And how do you choose that? I'm not upset about the movie. I just didn't expect it to be number 2.
I know, right?
What?
I didn't expect it. But the more I thought about this film, I fucking loved this film. And I have watched
You
this.
just love cats.
I've watched this film. I have watched this film 3 times. I went to the theater and watched it. Then I've watched it twice since it hit digital. And this film is so fucking good. And I love the cancer patient. I love her trying to go home. Like, she's dying. She knows she's dead. She wants to go home. And she has her support cat with her. And essentially, yes, the protagonist in this film is the cat. You could actually do away with the main characters in this film and just focused on the cat, and it would have been just as good. So yes, because of the cat. But
that's our $1 million idea. We make a whole film revolved around a cat's point of view.
I came out of the theater and I basically said, if you played the video game Stray, if you took the main characters out of this movie, you have essentially made the video game Stray within the Quiet Place world. And I thought it was great. And then the cast that we did have outside of the cat, the kid from Stranger Things, the one that played guitar, and
Dustin.
Not Dustin. Is his name Eddie?
Yeah.
The one that all the girls fell in love with a year or two ago. He's the main guy in it, and like I don't know, him being lost in New York, not being from New York, and latching on to the cancer patient that was just going home, and the whole story with them interacting and her making sure him and her cat were safe and survived. Like, I don't know, it's a great storyline. It's a very emotional storyline. Like, I don't know, if you've not watched A Quiet Place Day One, I urge you, do not sleep on that one, because I was going to, and it was
I enjoyed the franchise. Don't get me wrong.
See, I wasn't even a big fan of the franchise. I thought the first one was good. It was good. I didn't love it, but it was good. The second one, I'll be honest with you, I didn't even finish the second one. I was kind of just so put off by it.
Cillian.
So this one, it was a fluke that I even watched it. It was a fluke I went to the theater to watch it. And when I left the theater, I was like, this movie was so fucking good. And I couldn't stop talking about it. And so when I started making this list, this movie kept getting bumped further up and up, further up. And I was like, I can't believe I'm actually putting this film at number 2. But I did. And so, yeah.
But I did. All right. I guess that brings me into number 1.
You said you saw A Quiet Place Day One.
I did.
What did you actually think of it, since you were kind of surprised?
Oh, I kind of commented on it. So, okay. So, I liked part 1, part 2, and this is kind of obviously the prequel of when everything starts, right? And everything goes crazy. So you get to see that aspect of it. So I did like that. I'm never going to say her name right, though. Lupe. Mm-hmm. Lupe Young. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you say it.
But she's beautiful. But the role that she's playing is obviously, it's a deep role with her being a cancer patient, and it's hospice, so she's on her way out. All the people that are on her bus and in her group or whatever. And there's a lot of character depth. There's a lot of building. There's a lot of the creatures hunting her, and them understanding how the rules have to happen. They learn it on their own as they go. This cat's always lurking around, and she wants to make sure her cat's always safe. So yeah, it's interesting. The best dynamic of it is that cat. I mean, no joke.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it. I liked it. I didn't expect it on a top 5 list, but I definitely liked it. So
watch it again, and you might change your opinion. It might show up in the top 5 list.
Not mine.
If you take the blockbusters off your list.
Not mine. But I will end it on a good other blockbuster. Alien Romulus. This movie, they've done so many.
And this is your number 1, right?
This is my number 1. They've done so many twists and turns with this franchise, and so many things that were questionable, and spin-offs and different movies, and I was really concerned going into this about how it was going to pan out, if we were going to get a worthy story or if we were going to get a shitty Alien story. Because I'll tell you what, man, I didn't see Alien first. I saw Aliens when I was a kid first. I saw the second one. And that fucking thing scared the shit out of me when I first saw it. Because just the anticipation, the hype of the motion sensors as they're creeping in and you see them moving closer. There's something so real about that intensity, that anxiety in that moment, that made me love that film even more. And they brought all those aspects, all those things came to play in this movie. Now, don't get me wrong, it's got a couple of weak points. JP and I talked about that loosely in that episode, but one of the big ones was the AI recreation of the first android. I forgot his name though, drawing a blank, but that one.
I can't even think of it right now.
That one was really, really rough. But outside of that, though, I loved every aspect of the story. I liked that there was a malfunctioning android that was kind of like a sympathy android, because she kept him because she felt bad, or I don't know what it was, if they needed each other. But every part of it was character building at its finest, a science fiction story being told at its finest. I even, for all other complaints from other Alien films, I even enjoyed the hybrid that was in this at the end. That hybrid was perfect, and it was so cool the way that it was done. The actor that got to play it was barely in this. I mean, he was like a centimeter thick of a skin suit, so it was pretty much all him. So just, I don't know, impressive. I'm looking forward to the sequel. They've confirmed there's a sequel to this, and in addition to that, Ridley Scott's supposedly involved making a different Alien film as well. We're going to be getting Aliens Earth or Alien Earth soon. That's the TV series that's coming on Hulu. So I mean, there's so many things that are about to start branching out for it, but this one, not only was it a good sci-fi film, not only was it just a great movie, but it also took us back to that limited space, limited areas to run, the chase, the alien. It was so good. Number one.
So Alien Romulus did not even make it on my original list.
Wow.
I enjoyed it. I think when we talked about it before, I said it would be my third favorite in the Alien movies.
We'll watch it again. Maybe it'll be on that list.
But when I say a third favorite in Alien movies, I also don't count Prometheus. I would still put Prometheus over this.
Different respects.
Yeah. So, I enjoyed Romulus.
You don't count Prometheus?
I was comparing it to just the Alien films. I do count it, but I'm just saying I'm comparing it to the actual Alien films. I enjoyed Romulus, and we talked about that before, and I don't know, that movie just, like I said, it didn't even make it on my original list.
The original, what about the new one?
Well, I've already got through my top 5.
Oh, that's right.
Because Terrifier.
Well, I thought you had extras too, so I didn't know. Because you said you had 8 when we originally discussed this.
Yeah, but they're basically the blockbusters. The only thing else that I had added was, we talked about Furiosa. I had Deadpool Wolverine. And I did, and you're going to hate me for this, this one did not make it within the top 5, but it was added within like the top 8. Nostalgia purposes alone, I added Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I couldn't do that one.
But it was iffy if I was even going to leave it there. But I didn't ever take it off.
I can understand it,
and it was just for nostalgia purposes. It wasn't even that I really thought the movie was great. I would honestly, I think if I had a left Frozen Empire on this list, for me, it would have been no different than putting Romulus on it. Like, I would have probably held them both within an even grasp of being on my list. And so, yeah.
All right. Jigging, your number one. You talked about it loosely, but you didn't.
I talked about it quite a bit. My number one, I talked about a few minutes ago, was Terrifier 3.
Same thing. Okay.
Yeah, it was Terrifier 3, and my original number one was Furiosa. which we've already talked about too. So I don't have much more to say about them. Furiosa, go watch it. Terrifier 3, go watch it. Those were my 2 original number ones. So.
I messed up, didn't I?
What'd you mess up?
Abigail was 23, wasn't it?
Abigail, I thought it was this year.
It might have been this year. Well, Abigail's on my extras, my okay. Honorable mentions list.
I think I started to put Abigail on my list.
So I put, and these are in no particular order. I'm just letting you guys know movies that I found really intriguing. So Abigail, I love the story. Ballerina vampire, amazing. Daughter of Dracula, amazing. Trapped in a house, just good all around. Oddity, I was not expecting to like so much. Oddity,
I've not watched that one yet.
So I won't give too much away. I'll just say it's well worth it. But keep in mind as you're watching, it does have some pacing issues, and then also keep in mind that limited settings. So it seems like they had a low budget to make this film. Worked with what they had, though, and what they had, it was done well, and it was pretty cool. Wasn't expecting some of the twists and turns in it, so I enjoyed that. And then the one that I given a couple respects to Kevin Bacon for his top 20 list he did on his reels, but one of them that I can't stop thinking about is called A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. And it is an Iranian ghost town, basically. And essentially there's one girl who's a vampire, and she is a threat, but only to people who she deems as bad people, essentially. She does her vampire business at night, if you will. But there's so many cultural clashes going on that I felt like I was watching an Iranian Quentin Tarantino film for a vampire. But then it reminded me also of Let the Right One In. So there's just so many things going on in this movie that it was confusing, it was engaging, appealing. I wanted to know more. I wanted to see what was going to happen, and I just thought it was good. And a lot of these movies don't have. So that one I messed up on. That's 2014. Well, to me, it was 2024.
Yeah.
To me, it was 2024 because I just found out about it, and I had never heard of this movie. So there you go. You get an honorable mention from a different year.
So I think my actual honorable mentions. And sitting here I'm looking and thinking about it, because the other ones were the blockbusters we knew that I probably would have had on a list. So honorable mentions for me, and I've talked about this one before, but the new Guy Ritchie film, Ministry for Ungentlemanly Warfare.
I haven't seen that yet.
It's so good. It's definitely a great film for this year, especially if you're a Guy Ritchie fan. Obviously, Beetlejuice. Neither one of us brought Beetlejuice, and that one, honestly, I probably should have had on my original list, but it wouldn't have mattered. I wouldn't have added it because I would have considered it a blockbuster. So, another film, and I've actually not seen this one, so I want you guys to chime in if you have, because I've been wanting to watch it. Azrael.
I think I know what you're talking about.
It's the new Samara Weaving film.
Okay.
And anybody talks to me, they know I kind of have a soft spot for Samara Weaving between the Babysitter movies and Ready or Not. I think she's great. And she's going to be such a horror icon. In cult classic horror films, I think at some point, she's great, but she has a new film called Azrael. So if you've seen it, chime in, let me know, because I plan on maybe trying to watch that sometime in the near future.
And to that point of chiming in, we have listed all the movies that we think are worth watching from this past year. So chime in with some of your favorites. We want to see what you're looking at, what everyone's taking in, any genre whatsoever. So just tell us what movies kind of piqued your interest for the year, because we'd like to check them out if we haven't already.
Yeah, and there's a lot of films that I've not watched yet that came out this year.
There's not enough time. Yeah. It's so hard to get to nail in everything you want.
Yeah, between touring this summer, and I've had a busy fucking year touring, and you've had a busy few months too with shows, and between watching movies for the podcast and then just being so burnt out and just having to put something on TV just to veg out but you don't want to focus on, there's a lot of films that I've not watched yet, like Long Legs. I haven't watched that one.
Oh, that's worth a watch.
There's
Definitely.
a lot of them out there that I've not watched that are newer films. So if there is some newer films that you don't think that we've seen, yeah, chime in the comments or you write on our Facebook, comment and just say, hey, go check this one out. You might like it, or shoot the email.
The email?
The email.
Do you mean 3cinenerds@gmail.com? Because I think that's what he meant.
That's the one I was talking about.
It's a pretty good email, especially if you have questions or suggestions. Just saying. So on that note, though, you know the drill. Go over to that Facebook bio and check out our links for all the Audible listening pleasures that you have. And, yeah, give a listen. Pick up some swag while you're there. Go to our merch store. All that fun. And then
you can go click like. You can share. You can most definitely subscribe. And you can write us a review.
He changed it, though.
In the same sequence.
But it was pretty damn good.
But yeah, write us a review on our Apple Podcast page, on our Facebook page. Go click the little dots on our Facebook page. Slide down to where it says invite friends. Hit that. Select all.
Sharing is caring.
Sharing, invite. Let's keep building this thing.
CineNerds, CineNerds, CineNerds.
Yeah.
Happy New Year, everyone. Peace out.
Happy New Year, and see you next season, which will be next Thursday.
Outstanding.
Later.